There was a race of people known as Tartarians, which many historians know little about. Some speculate that they were once a great and sophisticated empire, stretching from the Caspian Sea all the way to the Pacific. Old maps clearly identify Tartary, or Great Tartary, as a huge landmass. Its people were described as Turkic, an ethno-linguistic culture found throughout Asia, North Africa, and parts of Europe. Tartary had its own flag, their own kings, and their own language. Because Tartary was so big, it was often divided into manageable sections with a prefix denoting the ruling power for that area, creating Russian Tartary, Cathay or Chinese Tartary, Central Tartary, and Eastern Tartary. According to official history, as the Europeans and Eastern cultures of Mongolia and China mixed with the Tartarians, the term fell into disuse, replaced by what we see today. Cathay or Chinese Tartary, which included Xinjiang, Mongolia, Manchuria, and Qinghai, most of which were not within the protectoral proximity of the Great Wall of China, suggests that the Great Wall was built to keep out some pretty fierce competition, separating ancient China and Tartary. Maybe these Tartarians were related to the original three-dimensional Aryans who appeared during the age of Aries, descendants of some of those who survived the cataclysm which wiped out Atlantis. This is interesting because in Herodotus's histories he talks about a people called Atarantians. Could he be referring to the Tartarians, possibly descendants of the Atlanteans? In the book History of the Two Tartar Conquerors of China, published in 1854, it states, "For in that same year, 1651, Chung Chi, the youthful heir of the late Tartar conqueror, being declared of age, assumed the reins of government at Peking, and the Tartars, impatient of completing their conquest, made a desperate attack upon the southern provinces. Yun Li was vanquished, and both he and his youthful son perished. Helena was led captive to Peking, and the imperial race of the Ming became extinct." The emperor himself was anxious to take lessons of him in mathematics, and at his request Verbest made himself master of the Tartar language, in order to dispense with an interpreter in communicating his instruction. The maintenance of the military character of the Tartars, by which their final establishment on the throne of China was secured, was in a great measure due to the emperor's frequent hunting excursions beyond the Great Wall, thereby exposing them to fatigues and dangers in many respects analogous to the trials of actual warfare. According to the Internet Encyclopedia, as Mongolian control in the West weakened throughout the 15th century, the Kazan Khanates took over and its people became known as Tartars. They were eventually conquered in 1552 by Russian forces under the reign of Tsar Irvin IV. becoming the first Muslim subjects within the Tsar's empire. The Internet Encyclopedia, encyclopedia.com, states that after the Bolshevik Revolution, Tartars were targeted for extermination. In the 1920s, most Tartar leaders and intellectuals who wanted independence were eliminated through execution or exile. This policy against the Tartars continued to some extent until the early 1950s. It is important to point out, as the victors write the history books, they occasionally try to eliminate important aspects which they see as counterproductive to their own importance. In 1999, a CIA document was released into the public domain, written in 1957, suggesting that the Soviet government set out to erase certain aspects of Tartarian history from the official record, essentially rewriting history to suit their agenda and modern narrative. Let us take the matter of history, which along with religion, language and literature constitute the core of a people's heritage. Here again the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on the 9th of August 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tartar Provincial Committee to proceed to a scientific revision of the history of Tartaria, to liquidate serious shortcomings and mistakes of a nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tartar history. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to great Russian aggression and to hide the facts of the real course of Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians, on orders from the Communist Party, have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed, so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning the true facts of their nation's past. When considering that the Bolshevik Revolution was partly financed by the international financial cartel, it opens up a whole avenue of historical deceit. Our history really could be, as Napoleon suggested, a set of lies agreed upon. There is speculation among some historians that the official narrative concerning Napoleon's invasion of Russia is not entirely true. Some speculate that the real invasion of Moscow was a joint venture between Russia and France against the Tartarian Empire. They make this claim because St. Petersburg at the time was the capital of Russia, not Moscow. Consequently, if Napoleon wanted to take Russia, he would have gone straight to its capital. Instead, he chose to march on Moscow. After the German National Socialists came to power in 1933, a strong relationship developed between themselves and the Iranian Shah. A great deal of trade took place between the two countries, with almost 50% of Iranians' overall trade being with Germany. The Iranian people were immune to the German racial Nuremberg laws because of their Aryan heritage. In 1935, the Shah asked the international community to refer to the country as Iran, land of Aryans, instead of its Western adopted name of Persia. In 1939, Germany gave the Aryans a library of over 7,500 books relating to German science and the close relationship between the two Aryan cultures. Because of these close ties and volume of trade taking place between Iran and Germany, the Allies put pressure on the Shah to scale down his dealings with the Axis powers. Trying to keep all sides happy, the Shah promoted his country as neutral. Unconvinced of this, the Allies invaded on the 25th of August 1941 in a joint Anglo-Soviet attack on Iran. 3 weeks later, the Shah and any pro-German government officials were asked to resign. The Shah's son replaced him as head of state, allowing the Allies control of the country's oil fields. Between the 28th of November and the 1st of December 1943, the Tehran Conference took place, the first time the big three Allied leaders had met together during the war, to discuss future strategy concerning a second front against Germany, and also the need to recognize Iran as an independent country. Of all the places in the world to hold a conference discussing the defeat of the German Nordic Aryans, one can't help but feel that Tehran, in the heart of the land of Aryan, was not just a random coincidence. Although the United Nations debate on the race issue and its origins was settled in 1950, concluding we are all from the same species, and as Europe and Western sovereign nations undergo the controlled demolition of its individual sovereign nations, one can't help but speculate as to who will next be eliminated from the history books.